Sometimes a simple post online, just a cry for help, can unravel a story that is so much deeper and more complicated than anyone could have guessed. This one starts with a college student's missing tuition money, but believe me, it spirals into this whole drama about family, addiction, and a breach of trust that is just devastating. So let's unpack this Reddit post that had an entire community talking.
So this was the question. This was the title of the post from a student in an absolutely impossible situation. They were facing a choice. Do I save my own education, or do I protect a family secret that could literally tear my family apart? I mean, the stakes just couldn't be higher.
Okay, so to really get the weight of this choice, we have to go back to the very beginning. It all kicked off with a simple but honestly terrifying problem for any student. Their tuition money was gone.
All right, here's the setup. We have a college student in the Philippines. Their dad works really hard, away from the city, sending his salary home to provide for everyone. And the mom, she's the one who manages all the household finances. But then the tuition deadline hits, and the student discovers the money isn't there. It's just gone. And with it, their entire future at that school is on the line.
So with a lot of encouragement from the Reddit community, the student finally decided to make the one call they were absolutely dreading, the call to their dad.
And they did it. They told their dad everything. And you can just imagine his reaction. Of course, he was disappointed, but he didn't even hesitate. He immediately jumped into action, scrambled to find new funds, and got that tuition paid. The student was back in class. A little late, sure, but they were enrolled. It seemed like the crisis was averted.
And just like that, you'd think it's a happy ending, right? The tuition is paid, the student is back in school. It really felt like the family had just dodged a massive bullet.
But here's the thing. What the family didn't realize was that the missing tuition money, that wasn't the real crisis. No, it was just a symptom of something so much worse.
And this is where the whole story just takes a massive turn, thanks to the collective wisdom of Reddit. They looked right past the problem-solved part and started asking the one question that really mattered. Why? Why did the money disappear in the first place?
So when her husband confronted her, the mother finally broke down and confessed the truth. She hadn't just overspent on groceries or bills, she had taken her child's tuition money and gambled all of it away, hoping for some big win to cover up other debts she'd been hiding for years.
And the commenters, like this user SWCFM2, they immediately called it what it was. This wasn't some simple mistake or a bad judgment call. This was the textbook behavior of someone with a serious addiction, an addiction that almost completely destroyed her kid's future.
And the community quickly gave this a name: gambling addiction. Now, this isn't just a bad habit. It's a recognized impulse-controlled disorder. Commenters who had seen this before pointed out all the classic signs right here in this story: the lying, the hidden debts, and the absolute willingness to risk a child's education to feed that compulsion.
Which brings us to what became the most hotly debated part of this whole thing, the mother's reaction after she got caught. Was she actually sorry for what she did, or was she just sorry she was found out?
So, according to the student's update, their mom just became completely withdrawn. They described her as being down, quiet, with no fight left in her. She just stopped talking to her child and her husband, giving them the silent treatment and creating this incredibly tense, awful atmosphere in the home.
And this is the question that just split the community. What was behind this sadness? Was this the genuine shame of someone finally having to look in the mirror and face what they'd done? Or was it something else?
So, two main theories emerged. On the one side, some people were hopeful. They thought her sadness was real remorse, that this was her hitting rock bottom, that painful but necessary first step towards recovery. But on the other side, a much larger group saw it as pure resentment. They argued she wasn't sad about what she did. She was just angry that her access to money was gone and her secret was out. They saw her silence not as shame, but as a classic manipulation tactic, a guilt trip.
And what's so fascinating is when you look at the responses, it's not even close. While a few people held out hope that this was true remorse, the overwhelming majority of the community landed on the side of anger and shame at being exposed.
This comment from user Mao Arise it perfectly sums up how almost everyone was feeling. It's a cynical take, for sure, but it's one that so many people with experience dealing with addiction said was painfully realistic. The real issue wasn't regret, it was getting caught.
So now the family is in this massive crisis. Trust is completely shattered. I mean, where do you even begin to go from here? Well, the online community had some very clear and very difficult advice.
The advice was incredibly practical.
And it all boiled down to one idea: containment. The father has to take total control of the family finances, no exceptions. The student has to set firm boundaries. And look, while everyone agreed the mother needs professional help, they were adamant that her recovery is on her. No one can do it for her.
And really, that's the ultimate takeaway here. The story that started with a simple, frantic question about paying for college completely transformed. It became this powerful, real-world case study in how addiction can just fracture a family, destroy trust, and leave this trail of financial and emotional wreckage. Which leaves us with the hardest question of all. For this family, and for millions of others in similar situations, the money problem might be solved for now, but that deeper wound, that shattered trust, it's still there. When a bond is broken this badly, can a family ever really, truly heal? That right there is the real gamble.